Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 156 of the Meet the Farmers podcast with me, Ben Eagle. Today on the show, we are focusing on a farm in Gloucestershire that, honestly, I said at the end of last episode, and I think it's true, I think it has more enterprises than I think we've seen on the podcast, certainly for a very long time, if not ever. Rees Keene is on the show. Rees farms 120 hectares at Over Farm on the outskirts of Gloucester. And he really makes the most of his location with plenty of customer-facing enterprises, including, wait for it, I'm going to list them all here, growing pumpkins, Christmas trees, sunflowers, strawberries, sweet corn, raspberries, blackberries, asparagus, and rhubarb. He also does pick your own events, has a farm shop, an airfield, a wedding venue, a farm park, and to top it all, a music festival. Because why not? Because you're not busy enough, Rees. He was in the RAF. He was in the RAF for 7 years, working as an aircraft technician before doing a foundation degree in ag at the RAU in Cirencester, which paved his path for the farm. Rees, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much. Yeah, good to be here.
The farm shop, if we start with that, because that's sort of at the center of what you do, that was founded in the 80s, but obviously it's a family farm and you've been there as a family for quite a bit before then. And I'm guessing you didn't start with all those enterprises, so it has sort of grown from the shop, or was the shop a reason because you were doing lots of other stuff?
Yeah, so the shop started after my dad went to America in the late 70s.
Okay.
And he saw farm shops over there and thought, I really want to do that. My grandfather at the time, his diversification was growing onions and potatoes away from arable. And my dad thought, well, I can sell those bulk in the farm shop and start growing some cabbages and cauliflower, and that'll work. And it did. It worked pretty well. Really got going through the 80s and as a value, high quality farm shop. So you go in there, buy all your vegetables, really good value and really good quality, because at the time the network for distributing veg was rubbish, and corner shops products were not great. They'd often be week old, leaves wilting. You had to go to a market to get the decent stuff, and the farm shop was a much better bar experience than anywhere else.
What's it like farming on the edge of Gloucester? Because you really are on the edge, aren't you?
Yeah, literally a mile from the city centre. It's
wow.
We've got a dual carriageway going past us with 40,000 cars a day.
Wow!
So that really helps with getting people in. Obviously, very good access. Does conversely have issues with highways, and they want to know everything about what we do and make sure that anything that we change is noted. It really, for what we're doing, it's great.
And I asked this question to quite a few people, but for you, I'm interested to see sort of where it goes, because there's so many enterprises going on. What does a typical day for you look like?
Well, today's a chaotic day. It's my daughter's 4th birthday, so I started with
happy
breakfast
birthday
for her, and then out and check all the guys that are the farm manager was okay. He's busy filling in a hole for making a set for the music festival.
Okay.
Another guy, and
when's that?
That is in 2 weeks' time. So the 30th is the first day.
Oh wow! Ticket still available?
Not for the Thursday, no. Unfortunately, the guy who books the artist booked Sam Ryder for Thursday, thinking, "Oh,
seriously?
He looks good fun on TikTok when he booked in. We'll have him on the Thursday as a bit of a fill-in."
Wow, so, that was a punt.
And of course, those tickets always sell out. It's only 200 people come in on that Thursday to Saturday for that Thursday night.
Okay.
So yeah. That would have been nice if he'd been booked for one of the weekend slots, but there you go.
Would have been, really.
So yeah, there's still tickets left for the weekend, for the main weekend. So yeah, obviously daughter's birthday, sorting out the guys with a set build. They were happy on that. Checking water. Everything needs water at the moment. 30 degrees and wind desiccates anything with irrigation. And no other source of water. So checking the hanging baskets, bizarrely. And then out to the strawberries, and then into a meeting with the barn manager and my cousin Ben, who's working as a bit of a across the board senior manager to help me work with everyone and get the best out of everyone.
Okay, so who's involved generally, and how many people on the place?
There's around about 50 people on the books.
Wow.
I haven't actually counted that up recently, but it varies to how many people are in a day. Usually, shop has about 10 people in or a dozen people in, with the cafe included. But we've also today we've got the catering guys in the kitchen, so there's 2 of them in there making stuff for the weekend, pies and what have you. There's about 10 guys on the farm at the moment, a couple of volunteers for the festival, brothers in helping with the setup of the music festival. Yeah, there's probably around about, if you toss it all up, there's probably around about 30 people or so on site today, staff-wise, staff and volunteers.
Gosh, always an exciting place by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the production side of the business, because you're growing quite a few different crops. How did you settle on what you're growing?
So when I took over from my dad, we had a whole plethora of things. We were doing potatoes, onions, leeks, cauliflower, cabbage, all of the brassicas from sprout, and it was great. It was hard work, but I was struggling to see where the margins were. And at the time, from when my dad had been doing it, it was so easy to make money. He didn't feel there was a need to really analyze anything particularly hard, but we were struggling and needed to try and get to the bottom of what was causing the issue. And it was really all of the brassicas, potatoes and onions were all not breaking even at best.
Okay.
So and that was gross margin. So there was all the overheads that weren't getting covered from those. So I just spent a long time trying to make that work, because as a family business, I was saying we need to either stop growing these or do something different. And the pressure was, no, we need to keep growing them and find a way of making it work. So I spent about 3 years
always a fun situation to go through.
Yeah, trying to make it more efficient. But ultimately, we're competing on those products on price with the supermarket to a degree. We could put a bit of a premium on it, but people are quite sensitive to certain things, and it was just really hard. The big growers are so efficient now. It's not like they were in the 80s when my dad was doing it, where everyone was growing it like my dad was. Now people are growing in perfect soil, great conditions, big kit, lots of systems and processes to make sure it all happens smoothly. Oh yeah, there's obviously hiccups like we're seeing now with the supply chain and labour, but it was just not sustainable. So I focused on the crops that we're growing now, because they were the ones that were generating a small profit in the case of rhubarb, but they're an annual crop. They just keep growing, so really not very much inputs there. And yeah, Christmas trees, pumpkins are big margins on those at the moment, especially pick your own.
Yeah.
Same with strawberries, which saw a resurgence over COVID. So yeah, we're at a stage where everything that we grow is making a profit. It's not always as much as we like, and as with farming, you see things go up and down. Some years, some sort of asparagus is very good this year. Last year it wasn't. And try and make sure that every item is making some profit. And if at the moment there isn't anything that isn't, but if there is something that we're dragging along, we at least have a reason for it and can justify it bringing money into the shop for some other reason.
Yeah. When it comes to the seasonal event crops like the pumpkins, I mean, round here in the east, we've seen a lot more people doing pumpkin patches with Halloween in mind. What's it like in Gloucestershire?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's doing it because it's quite easy to buy in pumpkins. To be honest, growing them is not hugely difficult. What can be difficult is getting people off the road and providing parking in the wet.
Yeah.
But we have been doing it since the early 90s. So we've got quite a bit of experience there, got all the kit that we needed to grow it, and we've got a customer base, and we were well known for doing Halloween anyway. So for us we spent a long time doing an event where you could pick pumpkins as part of the event. And it was a real struggle trying to manage that. It was too much all coming in at once, and we sold the pumpkins in the farm shop, and it was a bit of a muddle. But during COVID, we were forced to do a separate pick your own pumpkin patch. And we've been thinking about doing it anyway, but it forced us into it. And that was very, very successful.
Okay.
We basically just opened a section up into the field where the pumpkins were growing and said, right, you need to go through there to get your pumpkin, advertised it and as that, and used our booking system that we've always used to control numbers, and went from there. And it was really, really successful.
That's really interesting, actually, because that was going to be one of the things I was thinking of, is how long have you been doing the pick your own on that pumpkin basis, or is it quite a new thing? Because clearly it has been quite a new thing for lots of other people, but you've been growing them for a long time. So
yeah, that's it. So this year will be our third year of pick your own pumpkins.
So when you were growing up on the farm, did you have any interest in the business? Sort of, as I suppose I'm thinking of you as a teenager right now. Did you think, yep, want to go back there at some point?
Yeah. It was. I mean, it looks so different now. Back when I was a teenager, it was arable with the farm shop on the side. It had 850 acres. My granddad had rented a bit of land down the road. A fairly decent sized arable setup. My dad didn't have much interest in that at that time in the late 90s. Arable was really struggling.
Yeah.
And the decision was made to sell up. Basically, my granddad didn't want to do it anymore. My uncle had gone off and he's got his own venture on the other side of Gloucester, basically doing what we're doing but on a smaller scale. Okay. And my dad was only wanted to do the farm shop. So right, okay, sell that up. Still tenant farmers. We were on an Agriculture Holdings Act tenancy. And around about that time, I think it was early 2000s, the landlords who were St Thomas and Guy's Hospital in London said, right, we don't think you're farming in accordance with the tenancy agreement. You're getting your money from the farm shop. Our case was that the farm shop was owned by us and we could sell whatever we like through it. If we were producing produce on the farm for that, it's no difference to producing it for a wholesaler, whether it was arable crop or a broccoli head. We won the court case, but at that point, my dad, as I was going to the sort of looking what I was going to do next, he said, "You ought to get another trade under your belt, because if this goes south and we lose the case, then there won't be a farm to farm."
Blimey, what was to go through?
Yeah, so it was. I was young enough for really it not to involve me very much, apart from being aware it was going on in the background. But it was, we've only recently thrown out the stacks and stacks of legal documents that are all piled together involved in that. I went away and worked in the RAF, and then as I was coming towards the end of that, my dad had a very good rapport with the agent of the trustees for the hospital, and agreed a very good rate to buy half of the land if he agreed to surrender that Agriculture Holdings Act tenancy, which finished with me. Right. Would have finished it with me, if we surrendered the other half. So our neighbours bought the other half. We became landowners of half of it, and then a few years later, we then sold another half to our neighbours, and we could have been then landowners of what we have now, but we kept that capital in reserves and have used it over the years to smooth out financial humps and also invest in other things like our wedding barn and the farm park.
So you mentioned the RAF. You were in the RAF for 7 years. Tell me about that time.
Yeah, it was an interesting time. I got seconded to the Navy for a bit, so I ended up on HMS Illustrious. So yeah, I spent about 8 weeks on a ship at various stages. Okay. Saw a fair few sites there. Going around the top of Scotland on an exercise I can't remember the name of, and going out at 3 a.m. and it was still daylight. That was quite bizarre. And seeing water spouts I was going to say the Mediterranean, but I don't think it is. We were heading to Malta. And someone said that they came over the tunnel, "Don't go out on the deck because there's a load of water spouts." So everyone ran out on the deck to see the water spouts. And then that finished the Navy. The Navy scrapped the Sea Harriers, so then went to the Hercules at RAF Lynham and did an awful lot of time out in the Middle East, or supporting Iraq and Afghanistan, but mostly from Qatar. Yeah. So I think I spent about 8 months in Qatar. Although I didn't see very much of Qatar because we were on an airbase. So. And then wrapped up. I think I left the RAF just a year before they closed Lynham. So I saw out one aircraft, or two squadrons, one aircraft, and an airbase in the time that I was there.
So you went to the RAU to do a foundation. Why there, and why do that? And tell me about your time at Sarean.
I felt I needed some sort of training, whatever that would be, for coming back to the farm. Wasn't entirely sure exactly what. I had a few emails go back and forth with one of the tutors, or I think the head of the course, or whatever they're called. And obviously the RAF paid for that. As when I do get a bit despondent when I see that the people saying that the military don't support people when they're leaving. They paid. I think I was in the middle where they paid 3,000 the first year and the 9,000 the second year for that course. So yeah, they supported all of that, and would have covered transport as well if I'd needed to. And I went and did that. I think there was some elements of it that were completely wasted on me. Some elements that were taught really, really badly, which were quite badly, which were very useful. Other elements which were I found were hopeless and were taught badly. So and it was a bit of a shock to the system, having gone from you listened to everything and it was crammed in. You had 2 half-hour lunch breaks and an hour lunch break, and the rest of the time you were smashing out that course. And when you went home, you were done.
Yeah.
And you did the test the next day. This was very much you go in for a couple of hours here, an hour there, and they might cancel that lecture after you'd arrived, and it all felt a bit lackadaisical in comparison to what I was used to. But we got through it, and I think the most valuable thing was really just the business element. The tutor there is really knowledgeable guy. Struggled a bit teaching adolescents, I think.
Diversification. So as we've mentioned, you are doing a lot, and you started a very long time ago. But you're clearly very forward looking as well. You've got lots of people on your doorstep. Are you still looking to diversify further?
And where we're at the moment with everything that we've got with the farm park is our newest sort of big venture. But ultimately we see that's only any good if it's nice weather. And it's only any good when the nice weather is really quite specific. It can't be windy and rainy, and it can't be too hot. So there's a fairly narrow band.
Yeah, and windy and rainy. That's not very useful in the West.
No. So where the gap in the market for us there is near the farm shop. We had some land that we got planning permission for a new shop. Long story. We decided not to pursue it. But that area, I think we could build what we would call a hub, and that would encompass soft play, a sort of decent catering kitchen, which would supply a restaurant to satisfy the soft play, and the farm park. It would provide an admission hub for the farm park. So we'd lose the current little shed that would be the admission shed now. And we'd also probably look at putting a nursery in there, and that catering outfit would feed the nursery. Short term, like to look at glamping. We've got some lovely little woodland that my dad planted 15, 20 years ago. Yep. And it's lovely when we have bell tents in there for the festival. As with everything, we've got to sort of manage everything and make sure we've got all the systems in place for what we're doing now. As that's one of the challenges at the moment. So before we start chasing these other ventures.
So it's a challenging time in farming. Lots of farms are looking to either add value in some way, diversify in some way at the moment, and with all the changes that are going on. You have heaps of experience. Any advice you would give to listeners?
I think the biggest thing is you've got to be on top of the numbers, and I think everyone says that, don't they? And so focused on, if you're just because someone else is doing something, that doesn't mean that it'll work for you as well. So doing that due diligence and making sure that budgets and the cash flow are all coming together, and constantly reviewing it and checking up on it as you go, as it can so quickly get away from you. I think anyone who's done diversifications find, and it's the same with any new venture in any business, that it'll take a few years before you see the results that someone else has. At least a few years, and that's where that covers anything from someone who's trying mineral zero till for the first time to someone who's putting up a farm shop. It's going to take a few years before you get anywhere close to what someone else is doing.
Staff recruitment. A lot of people are finding a challenge at the moment. How are you finding it?
Mixed, very mixed. I'd say that people coming and going is a little bit more fluid. It's more challenging across the board, is for sure. We've not had a huge problem recruiting people. It's just taken longer. And some elements are really tough. Butchery and catering staff is really tough. Farm staff at the moment, we've got a guy who's leaving us today, actually. Really good guy. He's traveling a long way. It's costing him £400 a month to get here in his truck, and the offer that they're giving him nearer to home and a higher pay rate, we couldn't compete with. But that's also a challenge, because the pay band that we're on with at that level of employee is out of kilter with a lot of agricultural sort of skilled tractor drivers and people who've got areas of responsibility in other farms. So it's the challenge is getting the right people who are not solely focused on A, driving a tractor, and B, the labour that they're getting. They want to be involved with something else. But yeah, that's one of our challenges is recruiting the right people into that. Managing people and recruitment is never easy. we're at that interesting stage. We've got managers and middle managers involved, and everyone has got their issues and things that need to be squared away.
Yeah.
And it really is then relying on systems and the people, the managers who you've employed, being able to deal with the juniors and get there.
You've mentioned some of the changes that are going on, but where is the business going from in your sort of head? What's your vision for the next few years?
So really, we just got to secure what we're doing. There's so many new people in so many new roles, doing things in slightly new ways, and that's what we just need to really knuckle down on and get all that sorted, get all the systems, so everyone on board with how it works, and to the point where they just know that this week that needs doing, that day on that month that needs doing, and that'll help. We're looking at the glamping sort of at the corner of my eye, write a business plan for that, and if the opportunity comes up, so we either secure some capital or we get a joint venture that we can work with someone on.
Yeah,
we'll follow that one down. But yeah, really making sure the farm part is comes up together and up and running, getting all the guys behind that. Hopefully, recruiting a manager to manage that, so that can do it even better.
Grand.
Yeah, really, just knuckling down on what we've already got.
Exciting. Away from the farm, you've got a microlight, and you still do some flying.
Yeah.
How often do you get out in that, and where do you go? What do you see?
Not as often as I'd like. We do during the summer. The local club do a fly-in. They call it a fly-in. So we'll go, I don't know, anything from like 5 mile to 20 mile away, and just fly in and have a barbecue there. I think we went to Abergavenny a couple of weeks ago and had a pizza from a local takeaway. That was a lovely evening. Wednesday they went to Defford. There's another farm shop there. I couldn't make that one because there was an induction day for the daughter's reception year. So my partner was off at doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything I've done quite a lot of competitions. I quite enjoy doing those. So I did one of those a couple of weekends ago. Just get something in the calendar that you go and do. So often the machine's sat in the shed and I'm in an amazing position. I can just walk out and go flying.
Yeah.
But unless there's something in the diary, you tend not to go. So yeah, I've been all across. I've been across Europe doing competitions. I was in Dubai in 2015 doing pylon racing. And last year we had an amazing trip around Scotland, which was just stunning flight. And we were so lucky with the weather. There was no wind, blue skies every day up in Scotland, which is just unheard of, I think.
That's amazing.
Even the locals were saying it was like 1 in 10 years sort of weather conditions.
What does a microlight competition sort of involve, and sort of what sort of numbers does it attract?
So if you think of aeronautical orienteering, really, so you're given a map and say go to these places, and you're looking for, along those lines, you're looking for photographs, and you've got to try and find as many of those photographs you can, mark them on the map accurately. Sometimes they throw in markers that you've got to write down what's written on the ground, and navigating accurately. So they put in circular gates you've got to fly through, so that to make sure you're navigating to the line. And also sometimes timing gates, so you fly along a distance and specify beforehand how long it will take you to get from the beginning to the end, and then try and get it within 15 seconds. Cool. And then landing within a set area as well, and sometimes stopping, sometimes over a tape. And there's other things as well. I mean, and the Dubai and Turin thing was pylon racing. The Dubai one was with a spot landing at the end, and a short takeoff, and short landing. So there's quite a few more elements to that. Wow,
I love what people do. So that's great. Yeah. Let's sort of finish on the farm. Challenges. What's your biggest challenge as a business at the moment?
So it's definitely bedding in people, working out how our team work and making sure that everyone is on the same wavelength. And then also, as with everyone, it's the finances, being on top of that. So with buying my brother out, I think I mentioned that earlier, there's been a payout there, so that's had a big of an impact on cash flow. And yeah, those are the two things at the moment, really: cash flow, budgets, and management.
Yeah, getting through. We always finish the show with the same two questions, which I'm going to ask you now. The first is, if you have a message for the public, what would it be?
Try and be open-minded. Come and speak to farmers. Try not to be polarized by the media or what you see on social media. We're mostly very friendly people. And pop down to any local farm shop. Yeah, it's the same. Most of the public are very nice. Yeah. most people are very nice. It's just the odd few. So yeah, pop down to your local farm shop and try and make contact with people there, and don't be scared.
Brilliant. And finally, a message for farmers.
Yeah, try and be more collaborative to ideas and not dismissive of others' points of view, and be kind.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's one that comes up quite a lot, actually, which I like. We're going to leave it there because that is about all we have time for. Rees, thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling us a little bit about the myriad of things that you've got going on there. And I'm sure you've got a bright future, because clearly you're all very innovative, and you've got a great location as well, and it's about making the most of that. So good luck.
Thank you.
Finally, how do people follow you on social media?
If you want to look strictly at the business, we're Overfarm Market on Twitter and Instagram. And then if you search Overfarm on Facebook, I think we've got something on Pinterest and a little bit on YouTube. And then myself, I'm just my name. I think I'm on Twitter, but not a huge amount. LinkedIn, I'm on a bit more.
Cool. Go and give them a follow, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Please do subscribe to the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening, so you don't miss any future episodes. Later this week, of course, is Groundswell, and I will be there. Really looking forward to that. And next time on the show, I'll be bringing you some of the conversations that I have with people there. No concrete plan yet, but I'll see who I meet through the 2 days, see what sessions I go to through the 2 days. And yeah, I'll bring you some footage from that. Camping has now sold out for Groundswell, but tickets are still available. If you still want to go along, you can find out more about that at groundswellag.com. I'm Ben Eagle. This has been Meet the Farmers, and I will see you next week.